In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, hippies. Pause, and I mean that sincerely. Are you ready for the ginormous Veterans Day appliance and winter clothing, carpet and flooring, used and new car home sale happening this weekend at a mall near you? Get a hot tub cheap. And whilst you're out there shopping to save the economy, I'd like to say a little something about peace. And the celebration of national, or well, hell, why stop there? International Peace Day, 11/11 from now on. Remember November 11, 1918, the 11/11 we now recognize, was the date on which the armistice ending the Great War was signed, officially ending all the carnage that had lain waste to the better parts of the populations of France, Belgium, Holland, a lot of Italy, the Balkans, a good chunk of Russia, and some big pieces of the Middle East. Literally millions of people, soldiers and civilians, died, perished horribly. But on November 11, 1918, the guns which could have been heard in England, though they were fired in France, fell silent for the first time in more than 4 long, brutal, bloody, ruinous years. And that kind of dying, at least, stopped, if only for a while. It was a momentous day. People were wild with joy in capitals and villages across the whole continent. Nobody in all of Europe had escaped the consequences of that brutal conflagration. Everyone knew or was related to someone who had lost a limb or a lung, or who had left their body on some blood-drenched, decay-filled, shit-soaked field in Flanders. During those years, more people had died than in any comparable period in Europe since the Black Plague. It was, they fervently hoped, the end of all that. And they celebrated. From our perspective, almost a century on, it's probably well to recall, in all honesty, that the last veterans who actually did give their all for freedom and liberty and apple pie and Chevrolet have almost all already left us. All the World War I vets are gone long since, and a majority of the so-called greatest generation have also signed out. I read this morning the last code talker perished out in Navajo country this morning. Since then, we vets have largely been participants in America's wars of choice in Asia, southeast and southwest, as well as those military efforts to prop up friendly regimes in this hemisphere. We've done what we were told, but such honor as there is in that is, I think, somewhat vitiated by the costs inflicted upon the murdered and mutilated victims we left behind and are still leaving behind in our neo-colonialist, imperialist wake. So I think if 11/11 were going to be a date for commemorating and memorializing, then it should be celebrated as International Peace Day, since it was the day the Great War ended and peace returned to Western Europe for a while anyway, and now is a good time to start, perhaps none better. We've got all kinds of holidays honoring and celebrating the glorious military of our nation's past and the sacrifices of the veterans. Memorial Day, Flag Day, Independence Day, hell, Pearl Harbor Day, and now even, perversely, 9/11 is draped in military regalia too. If we were going to remember veterans, we've got plenty of opportunity to do so. But there is no day in our national calendar on which we actually celebrate the secular phenomenon of peace. And I, for one, think the Veterans Day, with its echoes of those silenced guns, probably should be it. It's the time of the year when poppies appear on the lapels of folks in the former British Empire in commemoration of the hundreds of thousands of lives which were spent so ghastly fashion across Europe's fields in Belgium and Holland and France and Germany. It should be a day on which we pledge not to repeat those awful lessons. That's what seems to me to be forgotten amid all the patriotic and jingoistic falderall, to say nothing of the commercial hype attending this official holiday, in commemoration of which I want to recite a poem written by Wilfred Owen, who died in that First World War, called Dulce et decorum est. Bent double like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, all bloodshod. All went lame, all blind. Drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of the tired, outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. Then gas, gas, quick boys, an ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time, but someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime, dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under the sea I saw him drowning. In all my dreams before my helpless sight he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you could pace behind the wagon in which we flung him, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's sick of sin, if you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory that old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. That last line, the old lie, it is sweet and good to die for your country. Don't forget, it's a lie. Bye, hippies.